Hello and welcome to Peggy's Plants, coming to you from the Florida Keys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you and yours are well. I too have succumbed to the lure of rare and hard to find plants, but that doesn't mean I can't appreciate a fabulous find from a big box store. In fact, a large part of my plant collection is comprised of plants that I purchased at big box stores. So today I'd like to share some of those finds with you, as well as some tips on how you can build a nice plant collection from plants found at big box stores. Now, I do recognize that not all big box stores are created equal. A good example is this Hoya carnosa compacta that I found at Lowe's. Now, I've never seen this at a local Lowe's. I found this at a Lowe's out of area while I was traveling. So my first tip is whenever you're traveling or out of area, stop at those big box stores, check out their nursery department, their garden center to see what they have available. I've had this plant for probably a couple of years now, and I believe it may have been the first Hoya that I ever purchased. It may not be a rare plant, but I love the texture it brings to my collection. Next up is this beautiful neon pothos. I purchased this at, I believe, Home Depot. I paid less than $15 for it, and it is one of my favorite plants in my plant collection, and that's including my rare and hard to find plants. Now, at the big box stores, don't overlook those common plants because they can add a lot to any collection. When I first saw this plant, I was immediately drawn to it because of its striking color. It was in with a bunch of plants that were darker green, and this one just popped. And that's what I love about this plant. In your collection, something like this adds a nice pop of color. I like it so much that I purchased a second one, which is something I don't normally do. I don't like to repeat plants. And my daughter liked this plant so much, even before she was interested in plants, that she even purchased one. Now, it's not a plant that we always find at our big box stores, but I have seen them from time to time. So again, you have to keep checking, keep looking, because you never know when something will pop up. Some of you may remember this White in Paradise Aglaonema from a Home Depot shopping video I posted a while back. Now, I'm not an Aglaonema person, but this one spoke to me. I really love the contrast of the petioles against the dark green of the leaves. As I mentioned earlier, I am not an Aglaonema person. This is the only Aglaonema I have, and I'm so glad that I purchased it and added it to my collection. So my next tip is, don't be afraid to purchase a plant outside of your comfort zone, especially at the price points that they're offered for at big box stores. Another one of my big box favorites is this beautiful Philodendron Brazil. Look at this plant. I don't need to tell you why I love it. Look at it. If you want a nice trailing plant that is easy to grow, readily available, you can find it pretty much at any big box store, the Philodendron Brazil is your plant. I'm pretty sure I purchased this plant for less than $20, and it was a decent size when I got it. So a nice way to add a nice trailing plant to your collection. Don't be afraid to buy those common plants. This is a great one to add to any collection. Moving on to this Peperomia quadrangularis. This is the only Peperomia I own. I purchased it from Home Depot, I'm pretty sure it was $13.98 or something like that. I know it was under $15. It wasn't the local Home Depot in my area, but I decided when I was out and about in another area to check that big box store and see what they had. By visiting big box stores on a regular basis and checking that garden center and seeing what is normally carried, I recognized that this was a plant that they didn't normally have in stock. I'm so happy that I picked this plant up when I saw it because I've never ever seen another one in a big box store. So my next tip is be familiar with what is normally in stock at your store, and if you see something that's not normally there, grab it. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online community where millions of people come together to explore and develop creative interests. Class topics include productivity, crafts, music, creative writing, to name a few. There really is something for everyone. Skillshare is for lifelong learners of all skill levels. Most Skillshare classes are under 60 minutes with short lessons to fit any schedule. My first Skillshare class was entitled Plants at Home, and it was taught by Christopher Griffin. It covered the basics of buying and caring for plants, and I really enjoyed the class. The Skillshare platform is constantly adding new premium classes without distracting advertisements. With an annual subscription, you can take as many classes and as many topics as you want for less than $10 a month. The first 1,000 subscribers to click the link in the description box will get a free premium membership trial. Let's get back to the plants. My next big box fabulous find is this Bonnie spider plant. I love this plant for the texture as well as the color that it brings to my collection. I can't think of another plant, be it rare, hard to find, or common, that adds this kind of texture and color to a plant collection. I purchased this plant at Lowe's for about $15, and I've seen these plants. I'm not going to say that you find them regularly, but they aren't unusual to find in the big box stores in my area during the summer months. So as you're building your big box plant collection, don't forget to add some texture and pops of color to your collection. I purchased this philodendron from a local Home Depot, and it had no ID on it, but I thought it was a beautiful plant, and it cost $12.98 or $13.98, and it was a good sized plant. I think this plant looks so graceful. I always have, and that's what attracted me to it. Also, I like that it adds some vertical dimension to my plant collection. So my tip here is, don't just focus on plants that are popular or that you can identify. Try to focus on what you like in a plant and what it adds to your collection. I may never see this plant featured on Instagram, and it may never be popular, but it's priceless in my collection. Who says you can't find hard to find plants at big box stores? This Calathea network I found at Walmart for, I don't remember exactly how much I paid for it, but I know it was less than $20. At the time, this was considered an extremely hard to find plant, and people were paying top dollar for it. As more people are getting into plant collecting, it seems that more of the growers are offering harder to find plants in big box stores. So because you are building your plant collection from big box stores, it doesn't mean that you'll never add rare or hard to find plants. This Begonia maculata was another plant that I found at Walmart that at the time was considered extremely hard to find. It was going for quite a pretty penny. I seldom go into Walmart, and this was the first time that I had ever even considered looking at plants in Walmart, but I would not have found this plant in the nursery. The Costa Farms display with this plant was at the main entrance of the store, and they had none back in the garden center. Even if stores in your area never carry these plants, the fact that these plants are more readily available will mean that prices will come down, and also that there will be more of them in circulation. Also, I've now added Walmart to my list of garden centers. In my book, a Marble Queen pothos is a plant collection staple. It's readily available, and I found this one at Home Depot or Lowe's. I don't remember where. I've had it for quite some time, and I know it was under $20. Now take a look at the variegation on this plant. I mean, people go crazy over variegation on Thai constellation and stuff like that. And I have to admit, I do have a Monstera Thai constellation. It's a small one. It's doing nothing for me. But honestly, this plant, the variegation on it is just as beautiful, and this plant will never grow to a size that it takes over my home. So for nice, affordable variegation, this is your plant. I purchased this plant at Home Depot. It was identified as an Alocasia hilo. I know people are telling me it goes by a different name now, but regardless of what it's called, it's a beautiful plant. And this plant was outside in the garden center with the landscaping plants. So had I not gone through and browsed the landscaping plants with the trees and all of that kind of stuff, I would have never found this plant. This is actually a division of the mother plant, which is planted outside in my yard. So the tip here is don't just look at the house plants in the garden center. Look at the other plants too. If you're looking for a large, affordable plant to add to your collection, then the Monstera deliciosa is your plant. I have seen these plants at Home Depot, Lowe's, as well as Walmart. I actually purchased this plant at Home Depot for $14.98, and it was big when I got it. I've taken some cuttings from this one, but it was really a nice size when I got it. A mature Monstera deliciosa with fenestrated leaves is definitely a statement piece. Now, I found this plant also back with the landscaping plants. It was not with the house plants. So you might want to look around. I know in Lowe's they had it with the house plants, but in Home Depot it was definitely with the landscaping plants. This plant is affordable, fast growing, and readily available. And finally, what big box plant collection would be complete without some kind of Sansevieria? Now, you might not find a Wellfin. I've never seen one of those at a big box store, but you can usually find at least one or two varieties at big box stores. For example, I found this cylindrical starfish for less than $5 at Lowe's. That's about it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope these tips help in your pursuit to grow your plant collection from big box stores. Take care. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.